Hi Mark, here we are again. This is me trying out the tissue paper, cutting a stencil, just trying to make something quite a complicated shape. But so this is the mat, these are the shapes that I've cut. Just getting the machine going and we'll see how it does. So selecting tissue paper, it's using the rotary blade. So you need to, if you order one, you need to make sure you've got that blade included. Just setting the machine to get cutting now, and off it goes through the machine. So this one took quite a bit of time. Normally I wouldn't use a tissue paper on such a fragile stencil, but I thought, well, let's challenge that paper and see what it's capable of. You can actually take the paper to the mats at the side. You'll see it's ripped up a bit, but actually I got away with it on this occasion. So it's just cutting through the machine now. Right, we're just getting to the end of the cut, and here we are. I'm not taking this transfer off properly. The idea is that you should put the transfer paper face down and you peel the mat from the paper. So you will see on this occasion it did remove from the mat fine, and I was able to weed out all the delicate bits. But there again, I was doing it one-handed and it wasn't the easiest of things to film and take the transfer off at the same time. But I did end up with some nice tissue paper transfers or stencils, albeit they'll be very delicate and a bit curled up. I think my top tip would be, if you're doing something as big as this, you get an iron out and iron them flat. But hey, it worked. It did the job. So here we are. I'm applying the tissue paper onto what is a very bone dry pot. So this pot was definitely it'd been out for a few days. I wasn't that impressed with the graphics that I'd put on it, so I thought, oh, why not add a few more? So this is that lovely tissue paper. I started off by trying to dampen the shapes with a sponge, but found that because the pot was so dry, it was easier to actually wet the pot and then put the tissue paper onto the wet. It seemed to stick better. It was easier to get down that way. But I think it really depends on what stage the clay is at as to what you do first. And as I said, because of the way I'd peeled them from the mat, some of these shapes were a bit awkward. They were curled up a bit, so didn't make my life any easier. But the pot's bone dry. The tissue paper is sticking. I'm not taking a huge amount of care with this. I'm just plonking them on fast as I can. And actually the one that I'm putting on at the moment is one that I'd peeled off earlier, and so it's been reused. So they do have a little bit of life in them. Had it been the other tissue paper, it would have just disintegrated by now. So here I am, just applying some coloured slip to the stencils. This is just a lemon colour. Just dabbing it on. Painting around the edges. Then just a change of colour, applying a light grey slip. So just removing the stencils now. Peel off nicely, leaving a nice sharp edge, which is surprising really, given that I wasn't doing it with a lot of due care and attention. Normally I'd have spent a lot longer making sure it was firmly stuck down. So this is the candlestick with the shapes in place. Not perfect, but not a bad job at all. So they work well. Now here I am. I thought I'd share this with you. I often work with wet slabs and build things from there. This is me just putting a coloured slip on, and then I'm going to apply the other stencil that was very delicate and see how that is on wet clay. So this is me fiddling about trying to get the stencil in place. I wish I'd ironed it first. It would have made life a bit easier because it had curled up quite a bit and it was fiddly. Now normally with this sort of thing I would just put it onto a silk screen and print it onto the paper, then transfer the paper because it is rather fiddly. So that isn't ideal, but it's on. And now I just need to press it into place a little bit with a damp sponge. And then brush on some black slip. So this isn't going to be the neatest of results because I can see from here that the stencil hasn't been applied as well as it could have been. But we'll soon see how effective the tissue paper is as a stencil. I think it is a bit of a game changer, Mark. You've come across a hidden treasure there, because I know I've been struggling with newsprint, which tears very easily, and very light tissue paper, and it just disintegrates, and this stuff does seem pretty impressive. Anyway, that's all the black slip on now, and to just peel off the stencil. As I say, it's not the neatest of jobs, but my God, that stencil just pulled away without tearing. Excellent. Bit rough and ready, bit of time, and it'd be much neater. Now this is a monoprint, which is basically a painting that I've done directly onto the transfer tissue paper, and I want to transfer that onto my slab. And I think this is where I've not tried the screen printing with the tissue paper yet, but certainly if this is anything to go by with the mono printing, the results are going to be really excellent, and I'm very excited about it. So this is just me applying the underglazed tissue paper. What I notice is when it gets wet, the tissue paper is virtually transparent, which can make it a bit difficult to see if you're trying to actually paint on and use it like a stencil. But certainly from the underglaze transfer point of view, it gives me some idea as to how absorbent or how much absorbency is left in that underglaze, because it does take some pressing down to get the design in place and a few peel backs before you can be confident that most of the design is actually on the slab. But I quite like that worn look that this effect gives. And there's me just applying a smaller stencil to the other side of the slab. And here again, you can really see the strength in that tissue paper. Had I rubbed like that on my normal tissue paper, it would start to tear. So this is the peel back. Exciting stuff. As you can see, you don't always get it all at once, and so you have to do a bit of pushing back and rubbing, but eventually you get there. And this tissue paper peels off like a dream. Lovely. And finally, here are some stencils that I've used with the Tyvek, and it's brilliant for that. It really works like a dream. It helps support the clay when you lift it, and I've used these about 20 times now, making these rabbits. So long lasting. So if you've got lots of leftover Tyvek, make some stencils, or templates I should say, templates. Okay, Mark, that's enough from me. Probably bored you rigid. Hope you get on all right. Let me know when you've ordered your Cricut machine, and if you need any help with it. Take care now. Bye.